Now we're going to dig in and learn about the different age groups of children's publishing. Now here's a breakdown of the basic age categories in children's books. First, you've got board books, which are for ages 0 or infant up to about age 2. And those are those paper over board books, the hard books for toddlers. And they have up to about 200 words in the stories. Then we have picture books, which are fully illustrated, illustrations on every page, and they're meant to be read out loud to young kids. They average about 32 pages for fiction and 32 to 48 pages for nonfiction. And the basic age groups within picture books are ages 3 to 5, 4 to 8. Those are the fiction categories, and you can see the basic word length span here for those two age categories. And then in nonfiction, you can have fully illustrated books that look like picture books, but they're for slightly older kids. 6 to 10 is one sort of general age group, and you can see that the word count gets a little higher. And then 8 to 12 with even longer word count. And often those books are illustrated with photographs instead of illustrations. So these are just very general word counts and age breakdowns in the picture book category. And you see there's a little overlap in the ages, but that's because kids have a wide range of interests and ability to comprehend subject matter. And the longer nonfiction is being used in classrooms, which is why you see that sometimes in the picture book format. And then we have easy readers, which are books written for kids who are actually starting to read on their own. So they're going to look more like a novel. They're going to be smaller in trim size. They're going to go portrait orientation instead of landscape orientation. That's what picture books are. So they look a little more grown up. But they're written in very simple sentences and short paragraphs. And most easy readers are part of a leveled series with 3 to 4 levels within that series for readers anywhere from preschool through about 2nd grade. And the complexity of the sentences and the length of the paragraphs gets more complex as we go up in level. But the texts for easy readers are anywhere from under 100 words for those very, very simple books for preschool or kindergarten up to about 1,200 words. And the higher levels, level 3, level 4 of the easy readers might be broken into very short chapters. And then we move on to chapter books. Now these books are meant for kids who are actually reading on their own. So they are a little bit longer, but they're broken into short chapters, and the paragraphs are still fairly short, and there's a lot of action and dialogue to keep the pages turning. And within the chapter book category, you really have sort of 2 age groups. You've got 5 to 8, which are stories up to about 2,500 words, and those can have either color or black and white illustrations. And there might be one small illustration per page with a couple paragraphs of text or 1 paragraph of text. And then we've got ages 7 to 10, which is up to about 10,000 words, and those usually have 1 or 2 black and white illustrations per chapter. And then we get into middle grade. These are full novels or chapter-length nonfiction for ages 8 to 12. And the word count jumps up quite a bit there. 20,000 to 55,000 words are average. But we start getting into a lot of creative formats with middle grade and young adult. So you might have a novel written in verse, in which case the word count's going to be much shorter because you're going to have fewer words per page. Or you might have a novel that intersperses text messages amongst the regular text. And so that might shorten the word count. So these word counts I'm giving you are just really general guidelines. They're not meant to be set in stone. The other great thing about middle grade is you can have animal characters, you can have kids, you can have aliens from outer space, you can have everything. I mean, these readers really embrace all types of stories. And the characters, if they are children in the books, are usually anywhere from about 9 to 12 years old. Then we get into upper middle grade. These are still middle grade type stories, but they're written for more middle school readers than upper elementary school readers. And so the characters are usually a little bit older and the conflicts maybe a little more sophisticated. But some of these stories can still be read by the younger kids if they're really good readers. But in general, you're dealing with a little bit of an older character in these books. Then we have young adult. Now, these are full novels or chapter-length nonfiction for ages 12 and up. And the word count goes up to about 85,000 words. But again, creative formats can make that word count different. And your characters are usually 13 and over. 14 really in most cases and up with young adult. But it just kind of depends on the story, depends on what's happening. A 13-year-old character in middle grade is going to be having different types of conflicts in their life than a 13-year-old character in a young adult book. There is a difference there in the sophistication of the storylines that you can do. And then we have upper young adult. Now, these are young adult novels and nonfiction, but it's really for readers who are a little bit older, and in fiction, your characters are going to be 15 and over, but most likely junior or senior in high school. Again, the situations that they are dealing with in their story really determine whether it's a young adult or an upper young adult. For example, young adult can have romance. Upper young adult might have your characters having sex. So there is a bit of a dividing line there as far as what the readers can handle in their storylines. And so this upper young adult character category is really moving the readers more into adult fiction. It just happens to be that the characters are still in high school in most cases. Now, why do you need to know this stuff? Because besides the differences in word counts and page lengths between a picture book, say, and a chapter book, books for each age group are written in a different way. The purpose of a picture book is to be read out loud. Your writing style is going to be very different than an easy reader, which is meant for the child to read it on their own, as opposed to an adult reading to a child. So understanding these age categories right from the start will empower you to approach your book and to start writing your book the right way from the very beginning. And don't worry if you can't keep track of the details of the age groups at this point. We have the tools that will break down the writing of these books for each age group into small steps that take you through the entire process from start to finish. So we've got the details covered, and you will never be alone during this process.